Friendship. So the number one phrase that I like for friendship is to have a friend. You need to be a friend. And that's something that we need to remember all the way through friendship building is, am I being a good friend right here? I saw a question come up on a homeschool mom group that I'm a part of online, and it was about cultivating friendships and cultivating community and what are steps that people can take to do that. And I think that's just such a great question that I was like, well, maybe I'll do a video and talk about it for a little bit. Growing up, my parents had lots of friends, and I always felt like I had lots of friends and kind of got along with everybody pretty easygoing. I don't know if my friends would agree. We'll see. But I feel like I have enough insight in it, and I know that I've practiced a lot of things to try to be a better friend to people. So I thought it was worth sharing anyway. So one of their questions was kind of like, how do you get past the acquaintance stage? Which is a great question, going deeper with them. And so my original answer to her was, looking for somebody that has a similar parenting style. She was specifically looking for mom friends. But looking for somebody that has similar parenting style or like a lifestyle to you, especially the parenting style, because boy, do you see that coming out. I had some people that I was good friends with, and then when we had kids, it wasn't lining up so good anymore. And where I really see kind of the divergence is sometimes you have parents that are really lax, and so their kids are kind of running around and not a lot of structure, not a lot of rules, which is fine if that's what they choose to do with their kids. But that doesn't really fit well for mine because mine have more structure and more rules. So then when they see these kids kind of doing whatever they want to do and maybe not even safe things, I'm all for like whatever, you have candy or you do something different than what you're used to at home. That's fine. But just maybe some things that aren't safe or aren't very kind. And so for my kids, it's more of like a shock thing, or then I feel like I have to step in and be like, no, don't hit him. And so that can just be tiring. And it also distracts you from visiting with the other mom too. So, and then there's the whole other side where you have the parents that are really on top of their kids and like everything's a rule. And so it's like the kids kind of can't play and can't figure out life at all on their own. And so that's also distracting because then you have the mom constantly going. So it's like every conversation is interrupted throughout it. So but I think if your parenting style is lax and their parenting style is lax, then that could be a better fit. Or if you're kind of in the middle, then maybe you want somebody that's more like that, or if they're on the other side. Now, I'm all for friendships with different people. That's fine too. It helps balance us out. So it's okay. Don't feel like, oh, they're a little different, so I'm not going to be friends with them. No, it's perfectly fine to have friends that are in different places. But when you're trying to build a relationship with a new mom, this is definitely something that you could keep in mind. It could be helpful to you and helpful to building that relationship because then, like I said, you're not as distracted or interrupted. I look for people that are ready to laugh. I think I'm funny sometimes. And so when people laugh, it feeds me. I'm like, oh yeah, they think I'm funny. And so I keep being Miss Funny, which is good though. Then I end up laughing. We're laughing together. All those good hormones or endorphins or whatever get released. And so that can help connect you to someone too. I also said someone that's not shallow is a good thing to look for. And sometimes you don't really know this until you get to know somebody. Or maybe you're shallow. So maybe you should be friends with somebody that's shallow. I don't know, if that works for you. But for me, where I don't feel like I have a ton of extra time to just give to friendships right now. I have a few good solid friends and I can barely keep up with them because we're just all crazy busy. But I think if I'm going to spend time with somebody, I don't want to hear, what they're going shopping for or some like really shallow platitude about life or like, I don't know, just talking about the weather. Like, I want to know how they feel about things, what they think about things. I want to hear, what they've been struggling with and overcoming and what they're proud of and like just those deeper things that are more personal. Because they are more personal, that can be harder to share with people. So it can be harder for you to share, but it can also be hard for them to share. And I think that's kind of where this person's getting at. Like, how do you get past the acquaintance stage? How do you get past the, how are you this week? Good, and you? Good. Beautiful weather we're having. That like awkward just beginning stage. And it is usually going deeper into things that are more personal. Another thing that I've found that's difficult with other friends, and I've had to kind of, give space from people, is if all they ever talk about is bragging about their kids. Oh, little Johnny, he's just reading chapter books at 3. It's amazing. I didn't even teach him. I'm so impressed. Oh my gosh. You just wouldn't believe it. Just on and on and on. Oh, they are the number one. Now, again, if you're friends with somebody and their child is succeeding in something, you are absolutely cheering them on. But there's a difference between somebody who's saying the goods and the bads and the highs and the lows and the things that are difficult and the things that are easy, and somebody where it's only the highlight reel, always the highlight reel. That just gets old fast, because real life isn't like that. Real life does have things that you're good at and things that you're not, and things that you're struggling with and things that you're happy about and sad about. And there's just more facets to it than that. And same thing with complaining. So you can go to the other side. So you've got some of the moms that are, my little baby is just the number one, so amazing. And then you have the other side where it's, oh my gosh, my kids are awful. I don't even want to be with them. This is just so hard and terrible. And again, there's a time and a place for sharing both sides, but there's got to be some balance. And you'll see this in people that they have a habit of complaining or a habit of bragging. And that's different than sharing more in all facets of things. I think it's important to find a friend where you can be yourself and they can be themselves too. Because if you're going into this relationship trying to be a good mom friend, or what you think they want in a mom friend, then it's going to end up being frustrating, because again, you can only go so deep with that. So you'll be the shallow one in that situation because you're so busy pretending to be what you think you want to be. And then mutual hobbies, that helps. One thing that I saw with my parents growing up is we had our skiing friends, and we had our hiking friends, and we had our sit and play cards friends. And so different friends we did different things with. And it was there wasn't one that was just did everything with us. And that's okay. It's okay to have, these are my park mom friends. We have a great time at the park. We enjoy being outside. This is my Bible study friend. She wants to go deep with spiritual things. She'll have all the conversations with me about this. Oh, here's my cooking friend. She's going to share recipes. I can call her for advice or tell her what I've been working on. And that's okay too. Everybody doesn't have to be all one. We don't need to have a BFF that's, perfectly suited to us. It's okay to have friends across the spectrum that meet different needs in our life, and we meet different needs in their lives too. And another thing that I thought of is that it really is hard to find good friends as an adult. I think it's easier for kids because their common interests can be more simple. It's I like playing with dolls. I like playing with Legos. I like being outdoors. It's kind of more simple things. Whereas adults, you like being outdoors and I like being outdoors, but you are really political, or you are super religious, or, you have a low tolerance for whatever. There can be these weird things that just kind of throw us off and make it so it's more difficult to be close with that person. And also traumas and experiences that we've had that get in the way of us being able to open up or wanting to open up. I opened up with this person, but they hurt my feelings, or they used it against me, or eventually the relationship ended. We're not friends anymore. And so then that makes it hard moving forward to be open with somebody in the future. So then she had a follow-up question online about asking deeper questions and not wanting to feel nosy or putting somebody on the spot. And that got my brain going. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot to this, and it's not always intuitive. And some of the things I watched other people do, and some of the things I've practiced on my own. So I wanted to share some stuff about that too. One great phrase that my dad always said was, we're all friends, we just haven't met yet. And I love that mindset of it, of viewing people that way. That person is a future friend. I think that's a great mindset. So when it comes to questions to go a little bit deeper, now I'm going to assume that at this point you're already at the acquaintance stage. You've done the how did you end up here, questions, and you've done the how did you pick your kids' names, or how was your vacation, or I don't know, whatever random conversations that you've had to start building the relationship. So then going a little deeper, one thing that I've done in the past is I've tried to pre-think of questions that I can ask somebody. Because sometimes in the moment, my mind is like, especially mom brain and just how much we're maxed out, is that I can be sitting there with someone and I'm like, I have no idea what to say to this person. I'm just so tired and I can't even think at all right now. So ahead of times, I will think of what did we talk about last time? Or what do I remember in their life that's going on right now that I could bring up to them? And another thing could be if they're posting stuff on social media, okay, you know, what did they just post about? That could be something that's important to them where I could ask a follow-up question about that. Or thinking of something that I'm looking into that I think they might be good at. Like if I'm looking into how to meal plan or something, I can ask them, what do you do for meal planning? I'm just really struggling with that. Or I've been trying to figure this out. You know, what do you do? And maybe they don't have anything that they do either. Maybe they're struggling with it too. Great. Now you guys have bonded over mutually struggling in something. Or maybe they've got a great idea and, you know, so that just kind of sparks a deeper conversation, something that goes a little more personal. Or the other thing would be questions in the moment. So, you know, if they say something like, oh, my sister was here last weekend, then you could follow up on that with some deeper question like, oh, are you and your sister close? Or, how many siblings do you have? And be ready too that if they send the question back to you, yeah, and you know, I have this many siblings, and you, be ready to answer those things back too. So, so that you're going deeper too, not just expecting them to share things, but opening up your own life to them. But be careful not to interrupt, and be careful to actually focus on what they're saying, because there might be a better follow-up question to ask them. Even if they ask it back, they're like, oh, well, I kind of have 5-ish. And you could be like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean 5-ish? What's the story here? And they'll be like, oh, well, you know, my dad had one before, you know, or there was this long lost relative, whatever the story is. So sometimes not talking about yourself and following up with them is the right step to take to go a little deeper with them. People do like to talk about themselves. So keep that in mind, you know, that you can use that. Now, relationships need to be reciprocal. If you are only asking and they are only answering, then it's probably not going very far. And again, this has to be like a pattern. You know, if you have one time together where they're just really sharing their life story and opening up to you, that's fine. But if every time you're together, you see that, okay, I'm asking the questions, they're just kind of answering, it's really not going anywhere, then you're probably not going mutually deeper into a relationship. And so that's something to just be aware of. Like, yeah, okay, I can keep a relationship with this one, but this might not be, you know, the person that I'm really able to go deep with and connect with the way that I want to. Things that you can do is like start a book study together, and or pick a movie or a video series to watch together, or send, you know, back and forth like videos from YouTube or something like, hey, check this out, or what do you think about this? I had a friend in the past that every once in a while when she would visit, she would say something like, what do you think about this situation? And then she would explain a situation to me. And it was interesting. It was an interesting question because it made me think about what she was talking about. And it was a way that we would go deeper. And then when I was done talking, I would say, what do you think about it? You know, so then I get her take on it too. Give yourself grace that making friendships as an adult isn't always the easiest thing to do. And you really have to look yourself in the mirror too and just see, is there some way that you're hindering the relationship? Or is there some way that you're hindering a closeness? Are you being too guarded? It's okay to be guarded, you know, to a certain extent, but are you too guarded, or are you too obnoxious? You know, you got to think about this stuff. Like, look for social cues and stuff. If somebody's done talking, then you just got to say, you know, maybe it's just not a good fit. Maybe they're tired today. You know, give them grace too, that it just might not be vibing right now, and that's okay. And also being clingy and emotionally. I know it can be hard because it can be disappointing if you're not invited to something, or if you send them a message and they don't message you back. Sometimes that can be discouraging, and it might mean that it's a no for them, but it also could just be because life is busy. And there are people that I know and I love, and I send them messages and they don't answer back, but I still know that I love them. I still know that they love me. When we see each other, it's great and we get along just fine. And so I don't let it bother me. I don't let it turn into a big roadblock for me with the relationship. But it takes work to do that. It takes work to kind of separate yourself emotionally from your own expectations and your own desires for a deep friendship, and and thinking about like, oh, well, I would never not text this person back. Well, that's okay. And in other seasons, I might not have texted them back because I was too sick or too tired or overwhelmed, or I saw the message and forgot to message back. And so I just think giving grace to yourself and to them in relationship building is really important. I guess another thing too would be shared hobbies. So look for somebody that does enjoy doing something that you do, and then maybe you can do it together, because sometimes when you're doing stuff shoulder to shoulder, that opens up the gate for more honest and open conversations. It can be hard to sit across from somebody drinking tea and trying to like ask and answer questions. So like, let's go for a hike, and then when you're on the hike, things will come up. Or if there's some silence, being okay with it, which is another thing I've had to learn and practice. You know, at the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, silence is bad and I need to fill this. What am I going to say? And so like, it gives you a little bit of anxiety. And then sometimes you're like kind of filling it with things that are just really not beneficial or interesting at all. And so I had to learn that, you know, I really am okay. If we just sit here and sip our tea and like there's silence, like I don't feel awkward anymore. Maybe they do, but I don't. I'm like, this is fine. I'm just happy to be here with you. I hope this wasn't too rambly. I hope this was helpful and really hit on the different aspects of question asking and might help you as you're trying to develop deeper friendships. And give yourself grace too in this, that like I went through seasons of my life where I was just praying for good friends and felt like there was just nobody that I was really connecting with. And it's lonely and it's hard. And in those seasons, I did connect with like some older people who are in a different season of their life. They're not raising their kids anymore. And that actually worked out good because they have a little more free time. They were able to invest in my kids, which is really kind of what I needed too, was somebody to also love my kids and give me some wisdom too, while I'm like in the thick of the toddler stage and everything. And then since then too, I've had some, not necessarily younger friends, like they might still be my age, but in a different stage of life. Maybe they don't have kids yet or aren't going to have kids, which is fine. And same thing, they have a different perspective and they're a little bit more flexible usually. So like, oh yeah, they can come along with us and we have enough room in the car for one person so we can even ride together, and then you get to chit chat in the car. So don't discredit the idea of non-mom friends or older mom friends, because they can be such a blessing as well. But it is hard to make friendships, and just keep praying, keep being intentional on what you're doing, and trying to offer value to other people, and being okay with many kind of lighter friendships while you wait for those few deeper ones that are really going to impact your life and be a blessing and be a place to really open up. And don't be afraid to be vulnerable, even if you get hurt, you know, and if you do get hurt, then it's okay to back off. It's, you know, I mean, hurt happens in friendship, so forgive and move forward, especially if it's a valuable friendship. But if you can just see a pattern like, okay, yeah, every time I'm with them, it's just complain, complain, complain. It's kind of encouraging me to complain, complain, complain. So probably don't want to invest as much time into this friendship. So just be smart about that, obviously. But I really hope that you find good friendships. You know, we weren't meant to do this alone. I think even the way that our Western world is set up, where we're all in our houses and we're all cooking our separate meals and we're cleaning our separate things, it's so separated and we're all doing this huge workload. And it's like, I think we were really designed to be more communal living, where we're helping each other. And when somebody has a baby, they're not at home alone. There's the women of the tribe right there, you know, that can just come over and snuggle and pat the mama and tell her she's doing the right thing and bring her some tea. And so, you know, I don't think we were meant to live as separated as we do nowadays. So keep fighting for those friendships, and also don't discredit online friendships too. You know, I've had many YouTube moms that I've watched, or women that I've watched, that feel like friends to me. They don't know me, but they feel like friends because I've watched enough of their stuff. And even that helps a little bit. And it's good to have the real life ones because you want that mutual deepness. But if you're having trouble finding some of those, it's okay in the meantime to take what you've got and be thankful for what you have and move forward from there. Well, no book this time, really. But remember that real life is messy and beautiful and better with books. I guess the last thing that I would say is like, well, maybe not the last thing.